All right. Well, thank you all for being here. This is our June AMA session, our Ask Me Anything. My name is Andrea. I am one of the members here of the Client Success team. I'm also joined by Ashley, and then we also have our wonderful teammate Crystal as well. And I'll kind of be heading the meeting, but Ashley, with her expertise, will definitely join in. Nice to have you here, Alan. We appreciate you, and hopefully we get some other people in here as well shortly. It could be because it's a day after the holiday, so we're good there. So what we're going to go over is we're going to have a feature review. We have a new feature available. It's the Authorizing Agent. And we're also going to go over our pro tip, which is editing your forms email template. And then we'll get to the general questions that came in. And then we'll also open up for any questions. And feel free to chat questions at any time, and we will address them as well. Ashley, did you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Yep, I know Alan really well. He's down from Cremations of Tampa, so it's fun to see you here. But yeah, just working with Andre on the client success team, trying to help all of our customers get those tips for success and figure out how to best use Parting Pro. So
Perfect. All right, so I guess we'll go get on with that feature review.
Okay, there we go.
So our feature review is the authorizing agent. Basically what it does, it gives your family an opportunity to basically confirm if they are authorized to act on the behalf of the decedent. We're going to be able to collect this at the end of checkout. Basically, we advise that you guys use very simple, plain language to explain to your families what the authorizing agent role is. We have seen some requests come through that are super technical, looks very legalistic. That is not the purpose of the authorizing agent. It is supposed to give the families a thorough yet concise way of understanding if they are an actual authorizing agent. And then we'll actually show you guys what that feature looks like. So at the end of checkout, your families are able to confirm, are they the authorizing agent? And they can click the how do I know? And so here is a pretty clear breakdown of what the order of family would be for authorizing agent. And after they read that, they can click OK. And they also can link to a full document that explains it, and then they can answer yes or no. Regardless of if they answer yes or no, they do have to put their name, their phone number, and then what their actual relationship or title is. If they do say no, then of course it's up for staff to explain to them and find out who that authorizing agent is. This was a feature that we released after much request, because there was many people who were saying that they were authorizing agent and they actually weren't. And so a lot of our funeral homes wanted a way to go ahead and further clarify that, so to help families, give them a heads up on who needs to be authorizing agent and the purpose of that role. This is a feature that does need to be turned on. It's not automatic. So if it is a feature that you would like to have available in your dashboard, you can reach out to the customer support team. They also are going to need you to supply the wording that you want on the how do I know pop-up. We are not authorized to provide that wording. That has to come from your team as well. Awesome. Thanks, Ashley.
Yeah, and then just to clarify on that too, so if they do say yes, they are the authorizing agent, they don't need to put anything else in, but if they do say no, then they can provide the information for who that authorizer is. And it doesn't stop them from submitting their arrangement. Basically, they'll submit the arrangement and then you'll get that information on the other side that there is a different authorizing agent.
Yeah. Perfect. So pro tip, we're going to go into editing your forms template. So on our last AMA, we went through how you can easily edit correspondence that the system sends out. And a lot of people were really eager and got in there and edited their proposal emails that invite families to go into the online arranger. But we want to emphasize the importance of also editing the email that goes with your digital forms. So on the upper right-hand corner, you would just click on settings, and it will go ahead and it'll take you to your digital forms, which we have highlighted here. Your digital forms email has a template for pre-need forms imminent forms at need forms. So we do get feedback sometimes where staff get frustrated because they want families to maybe complete the forms and not sign. Let the staff review the forms, and then after the staff gives an okay, then they can go ahead and have the family sign. However, the correspondence email that goes with the forms doesn't give the family that instruction. It may say in that template to go ahead and complete and sign the forms. So we do want to emphasize the importance of going into your forms template, making sure that the instructions that are given with that email actually describe what you guys want to do or have your families do with the form process. Because even if you spoke to them, they're going to follow the instructions on the email. So make sure that your email is not just the default that came with the dashboard. Make sure that it's actually customized to what your families can expect to experience on their process. Okay. And then what we're showing right now, this is related to someone asking about if families get a notice about the
Sorry,
processing fee, correct?
I accidentally clicked on something on my computer and brought it up on this screen, but no, we
Okay,
can
no worries.
slide, yeah. And
No
then,
problem.
yeah, this should be on settings, not online store, just
Yeah,
if
no worries.
they're going in
No
there,
worries.
I'll get that fixed. Um, and
Okay.
so this is kind of what you had gone over just in explaining, yeah, just explain what those steps are, be concise, and then also just give clear timeframes when possible, instead of
Mm-hmm.
saying things like the funeral home staff will get in touch with you shortly, because shortly is so subjective that can lead to a lot more questions from the family too, because shortly to somebody who's kind of stressed and wanting things done urgently, they might take that to mean, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, when shortly to the funeral home might mean several hours. So just clarifying that when possible will also help to hopefully eliminate any further questions as well.
Mm-hmm. All right. And then that next slide. It says, we are still struggling getting customers to leave reviews. Any tips? This is a question that we get here and there often. I've been getting this a lot. So we just wanted to take some time to just first explain why customers often don't leave reviews. As we said before, people are sort of desensitized to reviews. Everybody asks for reviews. If you get an oil change, they're going to ask you a review. If you go take your car through the car wash, they're going to ask you for a review. So people just don't want to do it anymore because they just feel like, you're just asking because someone told you to ask. You really don't care. And that goes into the lack of perceived impact. They don't understand that the reviews matter. They don't understand that other potential customers could be looking at your reviews on Google and determine whether to select you over another establishment. And so a lot of times we don't do a good job of explaining to our customers how much we really care about them leaving their review. And then sometimes staff can sometimes be a little bit reluctant to ask the reviews because they feel like they may be opening a can of worms, because there is a tendency to get complaints more often than compliments. Okay. So a lot of times if a customer hasn't had a bad experience, they don't even think to leave a review. Okay. So those are the common reasons why you may have difficulty getting reviews from the customer. Now we'll go over some things that we can do to help get those reviews. Asking at the right time. A lot of times, right after the family has maybe completed their arrangement, they've gotten the urn, they're obviously still in their heightened grieving phase. So we do recommend maybe a week or so after you guys have a reminder or part of your process to just follow up the family, get that review from them. And we recommend that that's done personally if you can, with an actual phone call. The system, when you mark a case completed, it is going to send them an email in about a day requesting that they leave a review. But again, that's kind of detached. They assume that everybody gets that. But if your staff actually takes the time to give a phone call before marking that case completed, talk to the family, check in on them, see how they're feeling, they could say, oh my gosh, we were so blessed to have you guys. It was a great thing. I couldn't have done it without you. That's a perfect segue for a staff member to say, well, I'm going to get an email to you in about a day. If you could take a couple of seconds just to write what you told, it'd really help us out. We'll come up much better in the Google search. Explain to them that you are impacted by that. Also, because as we know, happy customers typically don't leave reviews because most of us are conditioned to believe that reviews are for complaining. So if you're talking to someone who is just totally over the moon, loves you guys, definitely ask them to leave a review because it's typically not going to be in their mind to do that. So again, target those happy customer, target those raving fans, and ask them to leave a review, and they will more likely be able to do that. And then respond to reviews. A lot of people get great reviews in their Google and they don't reply to that. You definitely want to reply to those reviews and thank them for taking the time to share their experiences. Other people who are looking, seeing that you're responding to reviews, will know that you're engaged with your families, that you're actually concerned. So that is one of the things that you want to do. You don't want the review process to just be a one-way street. If they took the time to write a review, you guys can find the time to reply to that. So that's one of the things that we'd like to give as tips to gain more reviews. It's really important, but again, like I said, lots of families are desensitized, so you just have to put a little bit more effort. And you can find with just making a phone call, a lot of our customers say that they can get their reviews up about 30% by just asking for the reviews in a follow-up call. Next slide.
I was just going to add too that I think it just adds to the overall customer experience, because their experience
Absolutely.
and like as soon as they, come to get the cremated remains from you, they have that experience that stays with them. And so if they continue to have positive interactions with the funeral home, it's going to continue to have an impact on them and who they're telling the next time they get asked, do you know a
Yeah,
funeral home we should
referrals.
we use, and referring people over for sure.
Absolutely. Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's good. Very good point there. You're right. A lot of times we can be super hands-on with our customers. And then once we're done, not because we are trying to be absent-minded, we just have other customers that are more
Right.
pressing.
Yeah.
So taking that time to connect with them really can stand out because they're not used to that.
Mm-hmm.
Good point.
For sure. For sure. I know we have a client who has really worked this into his whole team's process, and they talk about reviews during the arrangement conference, so they mention it multiple times to the customer, so the customer is like expecting it from the start actually. And so I think that's another thing that can be done too, because it's not just after they have a great experience, but just the entire time they're kind of under the impression that you are gonna, would love to have a review from them. So it's also not just a surprise when it comes, the couple of days after they have visited
Absolutely.
the last
So
time.
what do you suggest for someone like maybe they are in a initial arrangement call? What would be a good way of sliding in a request for a
Mhm,
review or even
mhm,
mentioning the fact that a
mhm.
requester for a review? What would that
Yeah.
possibly sound like? Not to
Yeah.
put you on the spot.
Yeah. Yeah. I would probably do it kind of, in those phases where you're kind of wrapping up the review, letting them know, or excuse me, wrapping up the arrangement conference where, maybe you're also letting them know there's a couple things that we still need, like we need, go ahead and call us with that social security number, those kinds of things. And just kind of do a general view of this is what we covered today. This is the urn that you chose. This is this. If you've had a great experience, one thing that we would ask is that you leave us a review at some point. Kind of bring it up like that.
Oh,
That
okay, perfect.
reviews really help build your business, and kind of explain that. What did we call it on the last side? The lack of perceived impact. So explain the
Hmm.
impact that it's going to have on your business. Reviews really help us build business. They help us get new customers, especially. Um, Kind of make it just personal for them, explain what that impact is and how it's actually going to help you, because I think people actually do want to help, especially when they've had good experiences. But if they look
Absolutely.
at it as like, oh, it's just another star review, then you're right, they don't have that the value of the impact that it's going to have for the funeral home. So I think if they do have, especially those that are having great experiences, they're usually happy to turn around and do that. But I know what we mean about the review overload, because every single transaction you have these days through email or text or in person, they seem to want a review. So anything they can do to make it more personal, especially even over the phone, because we're talking about obviously a lot of customers that are doing online arrangements. But whenever the staff is actually talking to that family, even mentioning that in the conversation, I think just to open the door is probably a
Yeah,
good.
and another thing that I realize that needs to be explained to people is how the star works. So one being the least, five being the
Oh,
best,
okay.
because I have seen people have a 1-star rating, but their comment is absolutely positive.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times it does help if the staff explain on a scale of 1 star to 5 stars, 1 star being the least satisfied, 5 stars being absolutely excellent. This is how we need you to rate, because I wasn't aware of it until a friend explained to me that in Europe and some other countries, the star rating is the opposite. 5 star means
Oh,
you're not happy, and
oh,
1 star means that you
yeah,
are. And I was like,
yeah,
okay, this would explain why
yeah,
sometimes I'll see people with a 1 star review, but their
mhm,
comment is actually very
yeah,
positive.
yeah,
So it's a good idea not to assume that
mhm.
they understand that, and just
Oh,
quickly
sure,
explain that on the call as
yeah.
well. That's a
Um,
really good feedback.
so I have a question for you too, because I know that when you were in the funeral home, you were in the practice of calling customers to ask for that review. So
Mhm.
what was that phone call like, or how did you approach that phone call?
It was a general kind of checking up on their own well-being. So I would call the staff maybe a week or two after. Usually I send a thank you card. And so my reason for calling was to ask them if they received that card. And
Okay.
then while I was asking about the card, I would say, how are you feeling? How's everything going?
Mhm.
What was your experience with us? Oh, it was great. And then usually they had something positive to say, because I did send that thank you card. So that just let them know that I was thinking about them. And so then that's when I would go ahead and mention them actually taking that step.
Mhm.
Also, having to do that double click prompt to get it to go over to a Google review. I would explain that, because there is the initial prompting that gives a review just departing pro. And then
Mhm.
they actually need to click further to leave the prompt on Google, which is what ultimately,
Yeah.
as a business, we want.
Yeah.
So I would explain that just to give them a little heads up there. And it was a toss up. Sometimes you would get people would do the double click prompt. Sometimes they wouldn't, but I felt like I had a better chance of them actually doing that by going through the explanation. So for my segue, I just
Mhm.
didn't feel comfortable doing a random call. So my flow was to simply send a thank you card and then follow up and make sure they receive that card.
Gotcha. That's a good idea. It's a really good
Mhm.
idea. Nice.
Awesome. Got
We
another question. It says, we seem to give instructions to families in our correspondence sent from Parting Pro, yet we get questions we already addressed, and families always seem confused. This is something that any business deals with, is just consumer understanding. The first thing that I recommend is consider their level of expertise. And this is not meant in a condescending way. Obviously, we have families that have had their very first passing. They've never ever experienced the loss. And then we also have some families where this is their third time around. And so I think it's best to address our customers and our families as if this is their first loss. I have seen funeral homes have correspondence that almost have like industry speak in there. I mean, it's almost written as if they're talking to somebody who works in the funeral home, and you want to avoid that. They're a family. They may never have had a loss before. They may not understand what you mean by even using the term crematory, because some people think crematory and funeral home are the same thing. And
right.
so saying something as simple as, we'll send your loved one off to the crematory, that doesn't help them. They don't understand what that means. So you could
Mhm.
actually say, after you've completed the paperwork, after we've got the release forms, we are going to send your loved one off to the facility where the cremation will take place. That actually gives them a little bit more understanding than just using the word crematory.
Yeah.
Um, Talk to people in different formats. Correspondence is great, it's written, but let's be real. We all live in 2024. We're into
Mhm.
instant gratification with our comprehension. Social media has like ruined all of our attention spans. A
Mhm.
lot of people don't enjoy reading a long format paragraph. So maybe break down your instructions in quick little 3 easy steps or 5 easy steps. And then
Mhm.
sometimes people who just don't seem like they're understanding things, it might be best to pick up the phone. There are people who are just, audible learners, and a
Right.
conversation with them is going to be so much better than a bunch of detailed emails. So try different formats. You may be talking to a family that's a little bit more visual. So send them some pictures of what they can experience. So just kind of think that way.
Mhm.
You also, like I said, as far as doing 1 to 3 steps or 1 to 5 steps, break down the process of what they can expect to experience. You don't have to go in crazy
Mhm.
detail, but a lot of times families don't understand that you guys
Mhm.
are not creating death certificates, that you guys are dealing with a vitals department that's handling that. And so if they feel like there's a lag on the death certificate, sometimes they complain and they think it's the staff at the funeral home
Right.
that's holding that up. But if you could give an explanation about how you're tracking down the doctor for causes and things like that, that can give them insight of how much work you're actually doing on their
Mhm.
behalf and where you're at in the process.
Mhm.
And then focus on the why as well as the how. So, yes, we're going to go ahead and get this death certificate, but this is why we're doing this. We're doing this so you can properly close out bank accounts. We're doing this so if you have any sort of life insurance policies that you can collect on, we can take
Mhm.
care of that. Maybe Social Security needs to be notified. Let
Right.
them know what you're handling and how this is actually going to assist them in
Mhm.
processing the full passing of their loved one.
Yeah.
You have
Oh,
anything you
that's
want to
really
add
good.
to that?
Oh, I was gonna say, no, that was just really good. And it made me think of a conversation we had a little while ago, when we're talking about consider their level of expertise or even the language that we're using. Because there's certain language that's required on the GPL, given the FTC requirements and things. But a lot
Mm-hmm.
of that language is not familiar language. And even when we talk about equipment and staff for a service, well, when you say equipment, like I don't like that's a hard thing for somebody to imagine what equipment that we're talking about. Um, or even, preparation of a loved one. Well, dressing and cosmetizing are things that are more plain language that, everybody knows what that means without having to explain it. So if there's a level of explanation that can be just very plain and that those are the instructions that you want to give to your customers versus using industry terms, even when it comes to, the death certificate. We tend to, especially when we're talking with each other at the funeral home or with our colleagues, we're referring to the actual state agencies as maybe their initials. So EDRS, or I think in Washington it's called Wales. Well, you say that to a family, they have no idea what you're talking about. So it's more like we have to work with the state who actually, prepares the death certificates with the information that we give them,
Mm-hmm.
giving them the why, as it's important that this is all correct now so that you don't have issues later closing out the estate. So yes, it may, take a little longer to get them right and get the information from the doctor and then get it to the state and then get it filed. But I think helping them understand the why, like you said, is really important in that, and just giving them really plain language to understand the process. Like I think of myself whenever I have to go to a mechanic or something, if they start trying to tell me all the details, like I'm just checked out because I don't know what you're talking about. Just tell me what needs to happen in very like simple
Tell me the
terms.
price.
Yeah.
Tell me the price.
Yeah, tell me the price and tell me why you need to do it. But yeah, it's those things. But I think it's with every industry, people do that. People in the medical field say this a lot too. They start using all these medical terms because they're talking to each other. But you just need to just tell everybody in plain language exactly what needs to be done, so that they can just follow your reasoning. And yeah, I just think it works a lot better that way for all the reasons that you had kind of initially said.
Yeah. So if you guys are having problems with families just not comprehending, take a look at the correspondence. Even if you have to talk to maybe a friend or a family member who doesn't have funeral home experience and get their feedback and say, hey, if you read this, what does this tell you? And listen to what they're saying. Because again, it might be difficult to hear, but there's
Mm.
probably other families that have that same level of confusion and maybe just didn't really feel that comfortable telling you why they're confused. They just decided to pick up the phone and call you. So if
Mhm.
you want to cut back on some of those unnecessary phone calls, I love phone calls because I think it's a great way to continue to get trust with your families. But you definitely don't want to keep on repeating yourself if you can avoid that.
Yeah, 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 very good. We'll move on to
So
some other questions that we have
yeah,
here.
these are just general questions. And again, anyone that is attending, please go ahead and use the chat to ask any questions, and we'll get to those as well. It says, do you currently have anything set in place to send completed families Google reviews? Yes, as I explained earlier, in the system, when you mark a case completed, the system is set up to go ahead and send that family an email that goes ahead and has them leave feedback or request that. And then they are given instructions to go ahead and hit the prompt again for it to show up in the Google reviews. This, of course, is linked to your Google business page. So if any of you guys do not have a Google business page set up, then of course you're not going to get the Google business review. So most of our customers do have a Google business page, but if you do feel like families are submitting reviews and they're not going to the Google business page, Again, I recommend you guys have your staff actually call the families and explain that that email is coming. Don't just let them get it because they'll typically just ignore it. But yes, we have that in place. Mark a case completed, and it will send an email in about a day requesting that that family leave a review. Can we print forms instead of sending them? Yes. We do have that. And I think Ashley is going to show us. Do you have an image of that where we would go?
I don't have an image, but I can
Okay.
certainly pull up the dashboard real quick.
Okay, no worries. So yes, we do have a way that you can print forms instead of sending them. When you're going to the forms tab, you can hit that send or print button. That's why it says that send or print. And on that first window, a lot of people probably don't pay attention, and Ashley's going to pull it up. There is an actual tab that goes to print instead of send. And we can show you how to get to there. So she's going to go into this case here, and she's going to go to that forms tab. And then she has the option of sending or print. And this first screen here, she's going to go from the blue highlighted send form to print forms. It's still going to ask who you want to go ahead and print based off of. So you select that. And then once you hit next, you'll have an easy print button that is next to any of your forms. And that's how you can print them instead of sending them out. Okay. So that is something that you have the ability to do.
And I think this is super useful, like for a receipt for cremated remains, because that is going to be an in-person form no matter what, if you're collecting a signature when the family's coming to pick up those remains. So the advantage here is it's still filling in the information that you have. So if I had my date of death and this information, it's going to pull up here. I can just enter what we're releasing. And then all we really need them to do is sign because it's already filled out with their information.
Right.
Then I can just hit my download button. This is going to download for me, so I can just go ahead and print it. And then I just need to get that signature on the paper instead of having them
Fill out everything by
fill out
hand. So yeah.
everything. Yeah. Yep. And then it just pulls up in a PDF, just like the forms do for your family or when you download them. So it's there and ready to print for you. Yeah,
Perfect. Thanks for showing us that.
absolutely. Let me get back to our slideshow here.
No worries.
There we go.
Okay, and it says, is there a limit to the number of forms we can add to Parting Pro? There is not a limit, right, Ashley?
There's not.
Okay. There isn't a numerical limit. The only thing that we recommend is if you do have a lot of forms, make sure that they're labeled in a way that your staff can easily identify what they're used for. So maybe you guys have 3 different county medical examiner forms. Some people will just put like SF county medical, like San Francisco, things like that. That might get confusing if you have a ton of medical examiner forms. You might want to actually have us rename those forms so it literally spells out like San Bernardino County or San Francisco County or Los Angeles County, things like that. Also, some of these forms can actually be grouped together in a packet. So let's say someone is doing a pre-need and there's a set of trust forms that always needs to be sent together. We could actually combine those as a packet and name it pre-need packet so that you don't have so many individual forms. So if you do find that you have a lot of forms that need to be added, but it's a little bit confusing for your staff to navigate, definitely hit up myself or Ashley, and we can work with you guys to see if there's actually condensed packets that can be created. But to answer the question, no, there is no limit. If you want just 3 forms, no problem. If you need 30, that's fine too. Okay.
Yeah.
Can we order urns from our Parting Pro dropshipping inventory in our online store for our showroom? Yes. So if you are set up for dropshipping in your online store, but you also want that same merchandise available to your families who come in house and maybe go to your own gallery or own showroom, you can do that. You can do that 2 ways. You can contact customer support through the chat in the dashboard and let them know what urns you want and the quantity, and they'll go ahead and get that shipped to you. Or you can go ahead and send an email to dropshipping@partingpro.com and then let them know the urns that you want, the quantity, and confirm the location you want it shipped to, and they will go ahead and take care of that order. So that's not a problem at all. Did you want to add anything to that, Ashley?
No, I think you covered it. Yeah.
Okay, and then it says, we recently had a family try to place an order for an earn online. They were not able to do so. So we manually added it to the invoice. Does this initiate the order? So adding it to an invoice can initiate the order if the invoice is marked as partially or fully paid. So it's actually a payment on an invoice that prompts the system to do an order. We understand that you guys can create invoices, but a payment hasn't actually been collected yet. So if you have a family who you are invoicing for an earn and they have paid that money, definitely make sure you record that payment on the invoice, and that will trigger our system to automatically get that merchandise to you. If you want to make sure we got an order, definitely check the notes tab in the order. You'll see that our team members will typically update that with the note that they placed the order, and they'll update it with tracking information. And our system actually will send an email to your primary contact in your online dashboard or store with that tracking information. So if you don't see any of that, that could be an indicator the order was not made. So definitely contact, like I said, you can contact customer support and they will double check and make sure that that order was sent out. But definitely make sure that the invoice was marked as partially paid or paid, and that should trigger us to order that. Is there an automated email series feature where we can set up for an email to go out to customers to ask them to fill out a survey? Do you want to handle that one, Ashley?
Sure. So there's not necessarily a way that we can within Parting Pro send out additional email communications that are separate from, the forms, the payment, the different features there. So the answer is no, not currently. However, I know there's a few ways that this can be done. I think quite simply and inexpensively. There's a couple of services like MailChimp is one. Andrea, you knew of another one
Survey
or two.
Monkey. And then if you guys use your email blasting through Constant Contacts, they also have an option for you guys to typically send surveys family. So basically the service that you're using to send out email blasts, if you do that to your families, they typically have upgraded options that'll do. If you don't want to have it through your email or don't have that option, Survey Monkey is probably a pretty good affordable option.
Mhm. Yeah, and they would be able to do that on a timed setup for you, especially if it was going to be a campaign where your survey response then leads to further emails. That would be something that you'd want to set up through a campaign service like that. But yeah, let's see. Okay. Last question here is there a way that the credit card processing fee can be shown in the order details, not just the receipt? And so the credit card fee is shown to the customer in their order details. It is not shown in the dashboard when the Parting Pro users are looking at the dashboard. Because if a customer doesn't pay with their credit card and they're going to pay cash or check, then you don't end up having to deduct that amount. When you go to record a payment, it certainly is there and you can see what that processing fee is going to be if you've got credit or debit card selected as your payment method. You will see that additional fee added into that so that you can collect the correct amount from the customer. But to show you what the customers get. So once they go through your store, they will get an email with their arrangement confirmation, and it does show them what the payment processing fee will be. So it's not a surprise to them, even though it's not showing on your end, just in case they are going to pay with cash or check. But it is available for the family to see. Did I miss anything on that, Andrea, or did you have anything to add?
No, that sounds pretty clear.
Okay. Got it. Well, and now we were going to open up for just general questions. So, Alan, is there any questions we can answer for you today?
Can you hear me?
Well, I can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you.
I had a couple questions. Do you have any firms charging extra for home removals?
We do. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty standard. I would say about 80%, maybe more of our customers charge because they typically have to have additional staff or additional transport team members. And so they will pass that cost on to the families. Usually the minimum I've seen is about $95. On average, it seems closer to about 200.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I had to pay $262 for a home removal the other day for a removal company.
Yeah.
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 So,
And
Yeah,
we can,
definitely charge that with your
yeah.
families. On the package of your online store, there's a section that says disclaimers. So even if you in your package, it may say pick up from local facility. That's what a lot of our customers use, that word facility. So if it's at a hospital or a nursing home, there is no fee. And then in the disclaimer section, it'll say additional $275 for residential pickup, maybe invoice, da da da. And we can also have it set up where if they select residence as the location type, that the online store will actually charge that pickup fee. So you don't have to worry about invoicing separately for that.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think I need to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a lot to eat, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would definitely consider charging for that. And like I said, it's very common that, you know, and also there can sometimes be a fee for stairs too. So some of our customers have that conversation. If somebody's on the second floor, things like that, some of the transport companies charge quite a bit more for that as well.
Okay, good.
Mm.
And then my other questions, I'm looking at second locations, like getting another second little office in the Tampa area.
Mm-hmm.
So like for Google, it's a Google question, I guess. Would I have different addresses, but the same name, same website, and same phone number? It would just be different addresses, correct?
Good question. So we had 6 locations when I was at the funeral home. They all had the same name, but we did have 6 different Google business pages with 6 different addresses and 6 different phone numbers. So that there was individual contact information for the facilities. Now, that's not to say that you can't do something with phone numbers where they actually ring into one line so that you're not having to answer 2 separate phones or lines. I think that's something that can be done. But yeah, for Google, I think because you're going to need 2 separate Google pages, you do need 2 different addresses. I couldn't tell you if the phone number is a requirement, what that's going to be, but that's just how we did it.
I know the addresses for sure, but I
Yeah.
didn't know about the phone number and the
Yeah.
website. That's another
Uh-huh.
thing. If it has to have it can just be the same website, I would think.
I would imagine
Yeah,
it could be the same website. Yeah,
yeah,
because
you could probably have the
we
same
see,
website, no
yeah.
problem.
I was gonna say we have a lot of businesses, well, multiple locations that we work with, and they generally do have the one website. And then they'll list out their locations or facilities on the website itself. Mm-hmm.
And I think it'd be confusing for families if I had like cremations of Tampa, Plant City office, cremations of Tampa, Safety Harbor office or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd just be better just cremations of Tampa, no matter where it's at or the locations. If I get 4 eventually, 4 is my goal
Sure.
someday. But
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
so
then
I think the separate Google business pages would probably be um okay, because I think you would be able to probably reach a larger demographic.
Mm-hmm.
But those can also all be tagged to that same website. And then, like Ashley said, even if they have different phone numbers externally, as far as a customer view, you could have it where it's forwarding to one primary line if you
Yeah.
needed to.
Well, and now that I'm thinking about this, yeah, we had the multiple Google business pages, but yeah, all of those reviews showed on the same website. So
Mm-hmm.
they were just linking in from all of the different Google business pages. So no matter where the review was left, it still showed up on the main website. Yeah. Yeah.
And then other questions about the Urn Store. You know, I'd like to be able to just, sell like individual urns or advertise on our Facebook page or, today we're selling this wood urn instead of $220, it's $195 for the next month or whatever. but
Mhm.
there's no way to go to send them just if somebody wants to buy an urn, I guess.
Mm. Yeah, through the online store, you mean, if they
Yeah.
just wanted to, yeah. Yeah, you're right. We don't currently have the ability to just kind of send them to the urn section and allow them to check out with just an urn or some merchandise, without completing the full arrangement. Um, but that is definitely, that's good feedback, and a good idea too for your advertising, especially if you're using, because I know like you mentioned, you're doing some Facebook things that seem to be working
Mhm.
out well for you. And that is certainly something that could be done. Again, one of those things after their main services are done, they might still need your services, and the urns are definitely one thing that will come up. So that's good. A very good idea, and definitely some feedback we'll give to the team to try and get us in a direction where we can have kind of an independent urn store.
Yeah, you'd be surprised the phone calls you get. My uncle died 5 years ago, and he's
Yeah.
been in the closet, and
Yeah.
for 5 years, and
Hmm.
want to get an urn for him. Well,
Yeah.
I can't really show him an urn, I guess, or
Sure.
there's no way to just have them
Well,
buy.
right now you could tell them to go to the store just as a quick little fix. Look at the
Yeah.
earn page, write down the name, and then you could just hit up customer support to the chat and just say, hey, can you order this urn and send it to this address? And they'd be able to do that. Unless you want the person to come in and you'll do the transfer, then you could just have the urn sent to your location.
Right.
Well, and you could still, yeah, they could tell you which urn they want. You'll send them an invoice, which they'll pay, and then that triggers the ordering of the urn and will get
Mm-hmm.
sent to you still.
Yeah, you
But
wouldn't even have to notify customer support. Yeah,
mhm,
just mark the
yeah,
payment on the invoice.
yeah,
Just a little
Okay.
quick little temporary workaround until we get
around, yeah.
Yep.
our dream of having white label urn
Mhm.
stores, because I've been a proponent of that, and I know Ashley has as well.
Yeah.
So
How many years has Parting Pro been? When did it start?
I've been here 4 years, and I know it was kicking before I came along.
I
So
think
I
we're
think,
maybe at 7-ish.
yeah, 7 going on year 8, I think
Yeah.
maybe.
Mhm.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll tell you, drop shipping has had a journey, and we're in the best place we've ever been with drop shipping. So
Mm-hmm.
the merchandise that's now available, and the email notifications that are being sent out with tracking, that was something that was, requested for a long time, and is
Mm-hmm.
is working really well now. Just being able to, quickly order with chatting with the team. So yeah, we've come a long way. We still have a ways to go, but we're making progress.
I don't have any.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Feel free to give feedback through customer support on anything, because we rely on you guys who are at the front lines to definitely, I mean, a lot of the changes that Parting Pro has have been from customer suggestion. So we definitely value you guys' input. So if you know a Urn Store is something, they'd much rather hear that from you as a customer than from Ashley and I. So feel free to let our team know that that's something that would be of interest to you.
The My Keeper program's been really, really nice, I think. I've been
For the
putting,
obituaries.
yes, I've been obituary, I've been putting them on my Facebook page
Oh, perfect.
and getting clicks and likes on that. And I think if you click on it, it takes you, right to our website.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote
Have you been able to leverage that with possibly getting some pre-needs written at all? Like, do you ever have families who inquire about potential services for themselves because they maybe
yeah,
posted on an obituary?
but when I say the obituary is free and it's a night, the My Keeper program's been, I think, wonderful.
That's great to hear. It's easy to use as a
Yeah.
staff.
Yeah. Well, I'm a staff of one, but
Well, hey, you guys are the ones that are like the busiest because you do everything. So that's great to hear that keeper obituary is working really well.
I think it's great. Yeah.
Good. Good. Any other questions today, Alan, that we can help you with?
Only other thing, I made a note, the receipt of cremated remains form. I don't think I have that. I've just always I get the paper from the crematory and have the family sign that, I think I need to have that form added to my.
Oh,
queue.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please.
We used to use it for the remains, but then we'd also use it kind of for our belongings. So if we were also releasing jewelry or clothing and we would actually list out the urns that they were receiving. So you're receiving the Aria butterfly full-size urn and 2 Aria heart keepsake urns, just to have the trail of like what was released to who, because things get mixed up with the family too sometimes. Oh, I thought we ordered this and she didn't pick up this, and it's like, well, no, this is what you ordered, we've got your statement, and this is what was picked up, just to kind of have that trail of what went to who, especially when you have those situations where multiple family members are picking up different things because of conflicts or whatnot, just to kind of have that signature of what was given to who. And I have a
Yeah, we
really
used to do it
simple
with
one.
death certificates too. We used to
Yeah, we
use
did
that
too.
form when people pick up death certificates and
Mhm.
how many they picked up, because
Yep.
that's a common thing. I
Yep.
was supposed to get 10. No, you ordered
Mhm.
6 and you picked
Yeah.
up 6 and you
Yeah.
initialed that you got
Yeah.
6.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, we would do that too. So receipt for belongings, receipt for cremated remains, receipt for death certificates, just kind of have that paper trail of everything. And I have that really simple one. I'll send it to you, Alan, if you want to use that or make any adjustments to it. But it's simple, but it does the job for sure.
Yeah, just add it to my queue, if you will, or the
Okay,
paper, whatever you want to call it.
sure. You're fine.
Now that brings me to another question. So,
Mhm.
like, you guys save everything, I guess. Like, how are people doing? Are they going paperless, I guess, or
Yeah.
they got staff that's uploading? I saw
Yeah.
that uploading everything into your system, and
Yeah. So yeah, we see a lot of funeral homes that are just, after the family picks up the cremated remains or they've signed for the death certificates, that can get scanned and just come right back into your case file section. So
okay.
I'm on your forms tab here. And what you can do is you just come into the case files and click upload, and this is going to allow you to upload any documents from the computer. So family signed it, you scan it, upload it right in here, and then you've got all of those documents in one spot, especially because Parting Pro is mobile, right? You can pull it up on your phone if you're on the go, and have all that information that you need. The other thing that I see a lot in here is like removal documents. If you're getting paperwork from the hospital or your removal team, you can upload those things right here too. That way you've got a complete case file, and you're not kind of going in between paper files, especially if you're working through a few locations. That can get tricky with having the needed information with you at all times. So just scanning it and uploading it into the case files is an easy way to keep it all in one spot. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think more and more people are trying to get paperless as we go. It turns into a massive project of trying to retroly do that if you need to, years back, and scan things. So the sooner that you can start and get a good habit of getting things in the places or in the electronic files, I think the better off you'll be in the long run. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'll let you go early.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here today. It was a
Yeah.
pleasure to kind of get to chat with you, and glad we were able to answer some questions for you.
Yeah, and I think you asked some questions that other people would enjoy those answers. So thank you, Alan. We appreciate
Yeah,
that.
You're
for
welcome.
sure.
All righty.
Okay. Well, have a good
Care.
All
rest of your
right. Well,
day.
see you guys hopefully at the next AMA. Feel free to join us again, Alan. And if you have questions before then, definitely hit up Ashley as you always do, because she'll definitely get on it. All
All right.
right. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Let me stop the recording.